Pioneer basketball finishes their season strong. Track and field came back from South Dakota with some hardware. Steelers set to make some big draft day acquisitions, while the Penguins made some interesting trades. Trade deadlines have passed throughout the sports world, and spring training gets ready to wind down. It's time to come on down to the Pioneer Sideline. Hello and welcome back to Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Natalia Hillen. A select amount of athletes on the Point Park track and field team qualified and traveled to Brookings, South Dakota to compete in the NAIA Indoor National Championship. Point Park had a total of 10 athletes qualify for the Nationals meet. Starting with the men's team, the first runner on the men's side to compete was Elijah James on Friday, March 3rd. He qualified for his first NAIA Nationals and competed in the 600-meter dash, placing 11th in the country with a time of 1:21.50. He came into the meet, placed 17th, and made his way up to 11th. James was invited to compete at Nationals because of his previous personal best, which was a 1/10 of a second off the NAIA qualifying standard. The men's second athlete to compete was Damir Steven Stewart, who qualified for the 60-meter dash, 200-meter dash, and long jump. He competed in all of his events on Friday, March 3rd, and finished in the top 25 for all three of his events. In the 60-meter dash, he ran a time of 6.88 seconds, placing 23rd. In the 200-meter dash, he ran a 21.65, placing 17th in the country. And with that time, he broke the school record and got a personal best. Lastly, in the long jump, he jumped a leap of 6.99 meters, placing 15th. And lastly, Collins Eze competed on Saturday, March 4th in the triple jump and placed 13th in the nation with a personal best of 14.57 meters. Eze got first place in his flight with the first jump out of the three. After the final flight of the triple jump, Eze was officially placed in 13th. Great job, boys. Now on to the women's team. The women's distance medley relay was the first Point Park race to compete at the Nationals meet on Thursday, March 2nd. The team consisted of Caroline Daby running in the 1200, myself, Natalia Hillen, running in the 400 leg, Jana Schmid in the 800, and Alyssa Campbell in the mile. We placed 19th in the nation, running a time of 13 minutes. The next athlete to compete was Emma Pavlik. She was in the basketball season and competed in one meet to qualify for the NAIA Nationals in the high jump. At Nationals, she competed on Saturday, March 4th, and placed 10th in the country by clearing 1.64 meters. Overall, Pavlik has qualified for the high jump in all of her track seasons so far. The last athlete on the women's side to compete was Alyssa Campbell. She ran in the DMR, but also qualified for the 3K. In the prelims round on Friday, Campbell was in the top 8, getting her a spot in the finals race on Saturday. In the finals, Campbell kept up a great pace and was placed 7th with 2 laps left. In the last 300 meters, Campbell made her way up to 4th place and finished the race strong. She placed 4th in the nation as an NAIA All-American with a time of 9:51. Congratulations, Alyssa, on your amazing accomplishment. The PPU track and field team will be starting their outdoor season by traveling to North Carolina to compete in the 49ers Classic at UNC Charlotte. Good luck to both teams as they practice, prepare, and compete. After the break, we talked to Alyssa Campbell on how she did at Track Nationals and get a recap on the men's and women's basketball season. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Today I am joined by cross country and track and field 3-time All-American, 14-time national qualifier, summa cum laude graduate, and 3-time Chi Alpha Sigma member Alyssa Campbell. Alyssa, welcome to Sideline, and thanks for coming on today.
No, Nat, thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here.
It's so awesome to have you, and we just went to nationals in South Dakota. Amazing competitors. It was just an awesome vibe being on that nationals track. I know you've been to nationals in South Dakota quite a bit. How do you feel going into your last indoor nationals?
You know, it was a really bittersweet moment for me. So last season, I thought that was going to be my last season because I became a fifth year. So whenever I went to nationals, or I qualified for nationals last spring, but then I didn't get to go just because of my plantar fasciitis. I had an injury, and I had kind of made peace with it that I thought I was done, but then I had the opportunity to come back for now I'm in grad school, and I had that opportunity to kind of have a little bit of a redemption moment, and it was really awesome to come back. I felt like I really rose to the challenge, and now I'm just really excited to see, like, now that I have this outdoor season, to see like what I can do out there as well. So it was really good, really good.
Yeah, we ran in the DMR together. You ran in the mile on the last leg, and then you also qualified for the 3K. Can you kind of explain to me what different strategies you had going into the prelims and finals for the 3K?
Yeah, so there actually were completely different strategies that I had. So you and I had raced the DMR on that Thursday, and then on Friday I had the 3K prelim. And for those who don't know what that is, that's just like the race to kind of determine if you can go to finals or not, which the finals were on that Saturday. So for the 3K prelim, I knew that there were 2 heats, and the top 4 of each heat automatically qualify to go on to the final, and then it's the next 4 fastest times that they collect from those heats together. I had a very different strategy than everybody else in those races. I went out and I ran a very consistent race, and just to kind of put myself a little bit ahead, but I wasn't exhausting myself. I kind of maintained just a steady pace because I didn't want to do what's called a sit and kick. It's whenever you kind of run purposefully slow in the first half of the race, and then you have to really pick it up in that second half to carry yourself through and hope that you qualify. Now, I do have a kick, but a kick is in the end of the race, but sit and kick race is very different. So I kind of allowed myself that opportunity to just have a consistent race instead, and that worked out for me. In the finals for the 3K, a little bit different. It was an honest race the entire time. I was towards the front of the pack at the beginning of the race, and then I sat in that top 8 for the majority of the race, and then those last 2 laps I kind of tried to pick it up, and just I knew that I had a kick that I could use in an honest race as compared to a sit and kick. So I don't know, the last lap I just got mad, and I just kind of kept going, and I really just gave it everything that I could, and you guys were all there to pick me up at the end, so it was worth it.
Yeah, it was really fun watching you race, like in the prelims versus the finals. Just exactly how you said, you were kind of ahead at the beginning in the prelims, and then you kind of took that different side, went into the finals and kicked it. And it was awesome watching you go from 7th place, and you just went, and all of a sudden you're in 4th place, sprinting in the last 50 meters. It was just such an honor to watch that. Yeah. What were you feeling in the exact moment when you found out that you placed 4th in the nation and were an All-American? Like, what does this mean to you personally?
You know, it was awesome, honestly. So that last lap, whenever I had kind of kicked it, turned it on, it came through. So originally I was in 3rd place, and I thought maybe I was going to get that 2nd place girl, and I just ran out of track, and it was, honestly, thank God I ran out of track, because I collapsed at the end of the race, as you saw. So that, and then the girl that ended up passing, she ended up getting 2nd. She had passed me in like the last 60 meters. She was just absolutely incredible. And like, whenever I crossed the finish line and I saw her hugging her teammates, like that was really awesome to see. That was my first thought, just like watching the people that had passed before me. They were rejoicing in the moment. And then I saw you actually, and then I saw Coach Kramer, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I can just collapse on the ground now. And I should have kept myself up and going, because it ended up being very dramatic in the end. You guys had to carry me off the track. But I was just thinking to myself, and if you even look at the videos of me on the ground, it looks like I'm just really upset, but I was so happy. I was just exhausted in the moment, but I was so happy seeing you guys all around me. That was what mattered the most to me, was just having my teammates there on the track kind of pick me up and they were there for me. They were so proud of me, telling me that they loved me. Like that was the most happy feeling that was just the best I could ask for. And I was also just very happy to be done with the race because it was very painful, and it was a really good way for me to close out my indoor career and now to kind of move on to outdoor. I was really happy with it. I was overwhelmed with joy.
It was a very special moment, and I was recording the entire last part, like after you finished past the finish line. It was such a special moment to watch because you could tell that you truly went out there and gave it your all. And just having the team support it was an awesome feeling, even for me watching you competing. So you've been a part of the cross country and track teams here at PPU for 5 years. What are your goals, and what are you looking forward to going into your last outdoor season?
Yeah, 5 years is a lot. So I have, obviously the goal is I just want to try and get my relay to nationals again. This year it's going to be in Indiana, so a little bit closer to home rather than South Dakota. That's my first goal. Is the relays are what are most important to me. Is just getting my team out to the national meets, just so they can also experience that and we can all experience it together. That's really special to me. And for the 5K, I guess that's what I'm going to be primarily racing in outdoor. Hopefully I can break 17. We'll see how that goes. That's the goal, and try to get to nationals in that event or in the 1500. And I'm really excited to just be coaching after this and kind of put my running career aside and then be able to help these kids that are on the team and help you guys improve and just do what I can for you guys. And I hope that it all works out.
Well, I'm so excited to head into outdoor. We have a meet coming up in a couple weeks in North Carolina, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
No, thank you guys. I'm so grateful to be here. It was awesome.
Thank you, and good luck with your outdoor track season. Now I'm going to send things over to Jacob Kubik to get a recap on the men's and women's basketball teams. Jacob?
Thanks, Nat. Fresh off of their 17-point victory in the regular season finale, the Point Park men's basketball team aimed their sights to the postseason, with the hopes of a River States Conference championship. In the quarterfinal round, Midway University traveled to Pittsburgh as the 3 seed in the RSC West Division. Since Point Park was the 2 seed in the East Division and prevailed against Midway earlier in the season, Point Park earned home court advantage. Both of these teams were making it rain in the first half, shooting over 50% from the field and combining for 82 total points through 20 minutes of action. Point Park's Joe Valerie led all scorers with 19 points and 7 rebounds, followed by teammate Jalen Stamps with 13 points and 3 rebounds. And Midway's leading scorer, Donnie Miller, had 13 points and 4 rebounds. In the second half, Midway had upset on their minds, but Point Park had semifinals on their mind. Donnie Miller dropped another 13 points in the final 20 to take him to 26 on the night for the Eagles, making the game interesting late, with a score of 67-67. Eagles' TJ O'Connor gave his team a 69-67 lead. For Point Park, Kyrie Coates and Jags Jawar brought the game home for the Pioneers. In the next few minutes, Coates and Jawar combined for 8 points to go from 2 down to up 4. Midway came back and scored the next 5 points to give them a 1-point lead. From there, it was 3 big stops by the Point Park defense and a 3-point play by Jawar that won the game for the Pioneers. The Point Park defense came up huge and blocked a shot from Midway in the final seconds that could have sent the game to overtime. The final score was 78-76. With this win, the Pioneers earned a date in the RSC semifinals against Indiana University Kokomo in Kokomo, Indiana. 3 days after the Midway battle, Point Park battled the number 1 seed in the West Division of the RSC, IU Kokomo. Throughout the first half, Point Park struggled from the field despite only being down 4 through the first 20. Kokomo opened shooting 52% from the field, with only 2 starters contributing to their point total. Point Park Jalen Stamps was 3 of 10 from the field and had 10 points through 20. In the second half, Stamps made it rain, dropping 22 points, 32 total, in an effort to get his team back into the game and into the finals. However, his and the rest of the team's effort fell short as the Pioneers lost to Kokomo 76-66. What a year the Pioneers had under first-year head coach Kevin Reynolds. They had a 23-7 record with a 13-4 record in conference. The team finished with a plus 13.4 rebound margin, ranking first in the NAIA, and averaged 48.1 rebounds per game. This ranks second in the NAIA. The team had 4 players average double-digit points per game and is the only RSC team to beat both RSC finalists throughout the season. The Pioneers were one of 2 teams in the NAIA with 2 top 40 scorers and had 4 all-conference selections. Joe Valerie was awarded RSC Player of the Year, and Jalen Stamps finished 4th in RSC Player of the Year voting. The team fell short of an at-large bid for the NAIA tournament, which means their season has officially ended. Congratulations to all of the players, and best of luck to the seniors in all of their future endeavors. The women's team competed in a quarterfinal matchup at Midway University to battle the number 1 seeded Eagles, coming off of their home win against St. Mary of the Woods. Despite given no chance in this game due to the dominant play of the Eagles throughout the season, Point Park kept this game close for a good portion of the game. The Pioneers had an early lead and were within a point or two for much of the first half. Midway did have an 8-point lead, 37-29 lead at the half, but this game was far from over. Point Park battled back for a 41-40 lead at the 5:09 mark of the third quarter on a jumper by Alexis Giles, who had 10 points on the game. Midway slowly began to get big plays and build up a 58-47 lead in the fourth quarter. As the teams exchanged shots in the fourth quarter, time ran out on the Pioneers' chances as they fell short in this game by a score of 76-66. Senior Taylor Wren put the team on her back in her final game and did it in style, scoring a career-high 36 points and added 23 rebounds to her university history leading rebound total. While the team had some struggles in the month of February, the final regular season game rout against Ohio Christian may have provided the team some momentum, to their first playoff win in over the last 8 seasons. Congratulations to all the players and best of luck of the seniors going forward. That's all I have. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks again, Jacob. After the break, we'll get some insight on how the rest of the sports world is doing. Stay tuned.
Hey.
Good evening and welcome to News Night. My name is Craig Verkowski.
Tonight, we'll cover all your international, national, and local news.
Australia is one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet.
Over 8,000 items are to be auctioned off at Pittsburgh International Airport on October 22nd.
Last Thursday, the House committee investigating the January 6th attack chose to subpoena former President Donald Trump.
All this and more coming
up
up on
News
Newsnight.
Night.
Welcome back. Now we hear from John Mayer about how all things are going on locally. John?
In Penguins news, Mikkel Grillen plays his first game as a Penguin. The Penguins also added winger Fabian Zetterlund at the deadline. These two have not played their best with the Penguins so far, but it is too early to judge. Defensemen Dmitry Kulov and Nick Bonino were 2 other additions for the Penguins. Sitting at 8th in the East and making these additions means it's now time for the Penguins to play their best. In Pirates spring training, the Pirates are 3-6 so far. This record is not too important, but we have to go to see how some players will be showcased. It is still hard to judge based on spring training, but O'Neal Cruz still looks incredible. The Pirates still have to continue to develop their younger players. The best news in spring training was getting to see Brian Reynolds stay in a Pirates jersey, as early in the offseason he was apparently getting traded. The all-star outfielder remains as a Pirate, and it is great to see him in that jersey. McCutchen has been quiet in spring training for the most part, but he's mostly in Pittsburgh to bring a great energy and be a great mentor. Pitt football had the players perform the combine to try and impress NFL teams. One of the standouts was defensive tackle Kalijah Kancey, who ran the fastest 40-yard dash out of all players in his position group. He finished with an official time of 4.67. In the past, a former Pitt defensive lineman was also very quick at his 2013 combine. This player is Aaron Donald. Possibly the most impressive Pitt prospect was Habak Baldonado, as he put up fantastic numbers, especially as a defensive end. This impressive combine will definitely boost his draft stock, and former Pitt wide receiver Jordan Addison said in regard to a question about potentially being drafted by the Steelers, quote, "Come get me," and hopes to return to the Steel City and reunite with his former college quarterback, Kenny Pickett. That's all I have for regional news. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks, John. Now let's send things over to Matt Palangi to update us on how the rest of the sports world is doing. Matt?
Thanks, Nat. Spring training is officially underway for Major League Baseball. Spring training is a way to get ready and prepare for the season. The biggest thing in spring training is the new timer rule. Pitchers must throw their pitch within a certain amount of time, and batters must also be ready in a certain amount of time. This has caused some debate, with many fans disagreeing with the change, while others enjoying speeding up the game. This is a change to the game after so many years, and I guess we will have to see how it goes going into the season, and if it even will go into the regular season. Let's shoot over onto the NBA. Trade deadline was unreal, and we are already seeing some results of these trades. With Russell Westbrook going to the LA Clippers and going 1-6 since being traded, the Lakers are now also in playoff contention since making their big trades at the deadline. The team with the most success since the deadline is the New York Knicks. They acquired Josh Hart and have won 9 straight games since then. Soon, we are going to see superstar Kevin Durant on a great Phoenix Suns roster and see if it's going to make a positive impact. Now let's look at the NFL offseason. Now, there has not been much, but the rumors are as entertaining as it gets. Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs unfollowed the Bills on social media, and that has stirred the pot. Star cornerback Jalen Ramsey is also on the trade block, and his teammate Bobby Wagner is getting released, leaving the Rams on the edge. Aaron Rodgers is yet again on the block and is an option for many teams. Just recently, the Saints have signed former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr to be the New Orleans starter this season. Keep an eye out to see where these big-name players may go, especially with so much offseason still left. How is the NHL going? Well, the Boston Bruins still remain dominant. Carolina and New Jersey are the 2 teams behind Boston, all with 40 or more wins. The Western Conference is definitely up and down, but the Vegas Golden Knights currently remain at the top just barely. Very competitive season so far, and it's hard to predict a winner just yet. With all that being said, that is all I have. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks, Matt. After the break, we come back with the case of the week. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to
Daybreak.
Chicken Guy opened in PPG Place on Monday.
The bridge would open before the 1-year marks to check out the 20th annual gingerbread display.
Share with you this week's Ray of Sunshine.
We are still somehow hanging around in the playoff.
It gives Georgia Democrats some hold onto the governing body.
200,000 people still in harm's way.
This weather is perfect for those cozy nights indoors.
Welcome back. In this week's Case of the Week, we're going to talk about the Pirates news. The season opener is coming up, and we're going to go over some key things they need to do to get back into the winning form. Today, I'm joined by Jacob, Matt, and Ryan to hear what they have to say. So starting with Jacob, what do the Pirates need to do in order to get their season in check?
I think one thing they need to do is they need to be a complete team. The last couple of seasons, they've had offensive spurts, they've had defensive spurts, and then they've very rarely have they had any pitching spurts. But whenever they were good, all three of those things really combined. I think for them to really compete against the teams like the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Reds, maybe not so much, but definitely the Brewers. I mean, those are teams that can put up 6 runs in a game without like any question. So I think if they want to contend, they need to be a well-rounded team, which is something that they have really struggled to do over the last couple of years, and their record's really shown it.
Yeah, and from other teams we can see like they kind of have that all well-rounded thing, and the Pirates are lacking that.
Yes.
No, I agree. I agree with most of that, for sure. The inconsistency from last season is what I saw a lot. There'd be a game where they would lose 2-1, then there'd be a game where they lose 9-8, which is just absolutely embarrassing. You have to find that good middle ground, which is what winning teams always do, which is what the winner of last year, that's what they did. They had that middle ground. They were able to not only stop the other team from scoring runs, but also score runs on their own as well. So, me personally, I think with how young their roster is, I wouldn't expect anything too much for this season, but I think they have a lot of potential coming up for sure. They're young. I just don't think they made the deals that are going to help them win at this moment. But I think they made the deals that will help them in a couple years if they keep doing the same thing.
So, you mentioned about our pitching earlier. I mean, yes, this is spring training. Spring training is a lot of getting to learn how to play in the big league, learn how to manage in the MLB. But in 9 games, our pitching staff has an ERA of 5.15, which is alarming when you're playing against teams like the Brewers, who can put up 6 to 7 runs a game, or even we go across the MLB and play the Yankees, we're gonna get killed every game. We don't have a pitching staff that can get underneath the 5 or even closer to a 3 or 2. That's what we need. We need to work on our bullpen. Our bullpen is old. We have the oldest bullpen in the MLB, which is not good when we have a very young league right now. Like Fernando Tatis, he's not even close to 30. Aaron Judge, he's closer to 30, but he was the AL MVP last year. We have all these young stars that we can't pitch around. You got to fire at them, and we just don't have the pitching staff for that right now. And then you did mention about our offense. Our offense last year was good. They weren't consistently good, but in 9 games, they have a batting average of 198, which is what you can't have. They were at the bottom of the MLB at 30th overall. Even if our pitching staff ain't good, we need the offense to kick up, which is very scary.
But I feel like it's worth mentioning too. I mean, it is only spring training. The rosters aren't necessarily set. So whenever I said our pitching is it's a little lackluster and our offense is lackluster, I'm really referring to the past couple of seasons, regular season. Spring training rosters, you could have 90 guys start on the roster whenever pitchers and catchers really report. And I think now I saw that they're down to 62. So, I mean, no roster's finalized yet. I think the biggest thing for the Pirates, and I know this is going to sound crazy because we say it every year, but they can't fall behind. They can't go out in April and May and June and play themselves out of it. You can't win any pennants. You can't win anything in those months, but you can lose it. So if they play 60 games and they maybe go if they have 20 wins and 40 losses, they're 20 games under 500. Essentially, the season's over right there. Yeah. So I feel like their biggest thing is really just if they can keep around 500 and maybe stay, second place, third place, in the division. Maybe wild cards can come in later in the season. Obviously, a lot has to go right still, and you have to beat teams who you're supposed to beat. I think that's something that they really need to improve on. They need to stay consistent.
Do you guys think so? In the past seasons, we've seen them obviously fall like you were saying, fall far behind. Do you think they get discouraged? They don't really want to put it out there anymore, or what are we thinking with that?
Well, normally when you're halfway through a season, you see oh, what trades can we make? But when you're already that far behind, you make all those trade deadline trades, and at that point they don't matter. They matter for the next season, but when you're in a lot of teams, their goal is to win. Every single team, the goal is to win. If you're trying to win now, which I don't know if the Pirates are in a win now situation, I think that they're in they're trying to develop their team. But when you see that you're down behind, you're basically giving up at that point. You're going to make the trades. What I would do is if the Pirates do fall behind this year, I would make trades for the future. I wouldn't make trades for that season. Because when you're in a pretty solid division, there's a couple teams that on paper are already better than the Pirates and are probably going to play better than the Pirates. You have to just play with what you're given, and if you play well enough to have a good first half of the season, make the win now trades.
But you could argue that they've been making trades like that over the past since maybe 2015, 2016
Oh, yeah,
was
they
the
have,
first.
for sure.
I mean, they've made trades like, they traded away McCutcheon. If they wanted to be in a win now scenario, they could have kept that team together.
Yeah.
They chose not to. So I think really more than anything else, they're in a win scenario. They want it to be now. If it may be 1, 2, 3, 5 years maybe down the line, great. But they just want to win. I don't know if it. I mean, obviously, are they going to win a World Series this year? It'd be incredible if they did. I don't think they're going to though. So I mean, I think they just want a solid team to kind of build around this year.
And I think that's great because the Pirates aren't going to go from, oh, let's go win a World Series. It's not going to be like that. Like, obviously, you don't want to be too realistic. You want to have, like, your goals and your dreams. But right now, this team needs to get, like, back in October 2015, I remember, like, that whole season was, like, a great season for the Pirates.
Yeah.
We kind of need to get back into that rhythm. Like, we need to go back and see what worked for us then. Obviously, we had different players. We had better pitchers.
We just got to spend the money. There's one thing I know the city, I have been saying for the past forever, our owner does not spend money. We have the most room in the cap in all of MLB. We don't touch the cap. We don't get anywhere close to where we max out our money for the year because he just doesn't spend the money. Like teams like the Yankees or even
Mets.
San Francisco.
The Mets, too.
The Mets.
They're paying a luxury tax.
Like, we don't do that. And we got to spend the money. Bob Nutting just got to stop trying to put money in his back pocket and start spending on a team so he can get the city involved. Like you said, they do get discouraged because the city's not behind the Pirates.
Right.
Name one person in the city that's behind our Pirates right now. That's very rare.
Our producer Joey Bova may be behind the Pirates.
Okay, well,
it's very rare that he is not behind the Pirates. Let's just be completely honest.
Here's the thing. Okay, you have the roster to build around, but I always say it's always about the team. It's not about the star power. But in baseball, you kind of need a guy that can come up and you could be like, oh, I don't want to pitch this guy. O'Neal Cruz is the closest thing you have to that. And I would argue Brian Reynolds. I think Brian Reynolds is a stud.
But those are two guys. You still have 7 other
exactly.
You still have 7 other spots in the lineup. So
that's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of things they still have to work on. They have the roster. I know they want to win now. I just don't think they have that yet. You're going to have to build around these young guys, develop those young guys. That's what they have to do right now. You have a mentor, McCutcheon. McCutcheon's not there to win MVP again. He's there to make this team better by just being there, which he's going to do no matter what.
I agree.
And it's going to bring in the city and the fans to come together. I think it's going to be great.
Yes.
To, like, see Pittsburgh Pirates fans fun. I mean, you have the Pirates fans that go to games just for the fun of it, but it's going to be a different vibe in that stadium.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think all of us just want to see a successful team in June. I think that in June, July, August, I think that's all we want to see.
It's baseball. Anything happen. You play over 160 games. You never know.
True.
I'm tired of us being out at the end of April.
By the All-Star break every year.
That's what I'm saying.
Every year.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll have to see you at the home opener. I'm super excited on April 7th. Well, that is all that we have time for this week. We hope you are able to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer sideline.